Hello, this is Eric from iManifold. Today we're going to unbox and get your 925C kit ready for use out in the field. So after unboxing the system, these are all the components that come with your kit. There's the 900C intelligent hub. There is the 4-inch ambient air temperature thermistor. There's also 3 strap type thermistors for your piping. There is a high side pressure wireless probe, low side pressure wireless probe. There's also 2 temperature humidity hygrometers included for your supply and return air temperatures. Let me add also in the high and low side probes, there is included the 6-inch jump hose and of course the access valve also included in each one. Also included in the kit is a backpack. Now let's go ahead and get started with the 900C. You'll find in the box the back plug, belt clip, 6 AA batteries, and of course some paperwork in here. Please make sure to go online and register your product for warranty. In case that there is any issue, it makes it a lot easier for us to do any warranty processing. So please remember to do that. You'll also find a quick start guide. If you need to refer back to this, it is included in the box. And of course the 900C unit itself. So first off, to get started, we're going to install the batteries. Now it is very important to install the batteries with the correct polarity. Use a small Phillips head screwdriver. So now with the screws out of the back, I want you to pay attention, lifting the back cover off. Set that aside. You'll see that there's a note in here regarding making sure to put the batteries in the correct polarity. Springs down, that is going to be your negative side of the battery, which is the flat back, and the points, of course, go up to the top. So putting the belt clip together, simply take the pin, slide into the back of the belt clip, make sure the clip is facing the battery back, place it, press it prior to installing the batteries. So now installing the batteries, please be aware to make sure of your polarity when installing. If you notice, there's going to be 2 battery packs in here, 3 batteries each. In a pinch, you can run the iManifold system with just 3 batteries on either side. So now batteries installed, we're going to put our battery back on. Make sure your pin with your clip is set. Place the back on and reinstall your screws. Now installing the screws, they're into a brass set into the back of the iManifold. They do not require a whole lot of torque going down. Now with your battery back on, check for tightness, make sure everything is on there good and tight. There's a foam plug that comes in with the box. This is designed to go into the back of the iManifold 900C or the 900M to help with water resistancy, and also on the 900C you'll notice that there's no punch outs. Nothing is designed to be plugged into the back to a 900C. That is all reliant on your wireless probes. Simply press it in and you're set. Now we're ready to go. Starting with the 914M high side probe, this is what comes out of the box. You'll have the probe itself, you'll have your adapter hose, and we also include an access valve in each one, both the high and the low side. So part of the setup, what you're going to have to do is do a little adjustment to your access valve. You're going to need a schrader core remover. What we're going to do is we're going to take the cap off the top, remove the schrader core from the top, and install it on the side. Get the schrader core down there and seat it in snug, do not over tighten, and go ahead and use the cap on the side. Now we're ready to install the rest of the probe. So now we're going to install the access valve on the probe itself. Use this thumb nut, bring it down, go ahead and firm it up pretty good. Make sure when you attach the hose that you put the right side onto the end of the access valve. End of the hose here on the straight side does not have a core depressor. That's the side that we're going to use to attach to the access valve. That down nice and snug. Now this probe is ready for use. So now with the probe assembled, I want to point out some features on the probe itself. Of course, your power button, the top. There's also your wireless key on the bottom. We're going to be using that when we're pairing the probe up. Looking on one of the sides here, you'll see two 3.5mm jacks. These are for your temperature thermistors to plug in. The one closest to the tip here, we'll refer to that as T1. The one below is T2. Back side of the probe is your battery cover. To remove the battery cover, simply take off these two back screws, lift it up. There are keepers on the screws so you will not lose them. Inside you'll find two AAA batteries. On the other side of the probe, you'll also notice that there is a micro USB port. This port here is to power the probe over time. This does not charge your batteries. So if you're doing a data logging session or you need this running over extended periods of time, or you can use an auxiliary battery pack for this as well and plug that in and power the probe over longer periods of time. So now with our low side probe out, we repeat the process as we did on our high side probe and assemble it. Now that we've unboxed our 911Ms, which is our temperature humidity hygrometer probes, I want to point out a few things on this. As with all of our probes, there of course is the power button, the wireless key. So we turn, there's the micro USB for extended length powering, the battery cover on the back, access to your two AAAs, and then of course the temperature ports over here, which are fully configurable. You can plug in a thermistor over here to either one of these ports and map it. So a couple of things I want to point out on the temperature humidity hygrometer probes is on the stock itself at the base, we do have some small magnets in here. If you're going to be using it on metal ductwork, using an 11/16 hole, once the probe is slid into the hole, it will hold it. Going to a 7/8" hole, that will actually drop the probe down from the weight of it. Another point out I want to show you on the probe tip, this is where your airflow needs to come across. Now, you'll notice that the switch side and then there's a battery cover side. I'm going to remove the tip here to reveal what's under here. Underneath here on the switch side, you'll notice the end of the probe tip over here has nothing on here. On the other side, where we have the battery cover, that's actually where your sensor is. What we need to do is just make sure that airflow comes across either directly towards the tip or perpendicular across it to get airflow across our sensors. There are two types of thermistors that are included in your kit. This thermistor is a short 4-inch ambient air temperature thermistor. This will be plugged in to one of your probes and mapped so you can get your outdoor ambient air temperature from the condenser. So also included in your kit, you're going to have 3 of these 901M strap type thermistors. This is an elastic strap held in right here on a little V-clasp, and this is the actual thermistor down below here. Prior to installing your thermistor, just always make sure that the copper is clean. You can take a piece of sandcloth, this little 3M pad, and we'll just make sure that this thing's nice and clean. Attaching the thermistors is very easy. Simply take the thermistor, place it up on top of the copper, wrap the elastic around flat, and go ahead and pull it. As soon as the pinch is made, it's on there plenty tight enough. So now that we have our hardware all ready to go, we're going to go ahead and install the app and get started. So the app is available on both Android and Apple devices. We're using an Apple device on this right now. Please make sure to use the most up-to-date Apple or Android devices available for best performance. So we're going to search for the app in the App Store. On the bottom, we'll hit our search key and we'll search in the App Store for iManifold. So now we find the iManifold app and go ahead and bring it in. So now we have the iManifold ready. We're going to go ahead and open it. Right here on the app screen now, you're either going to sign in if you're already one of our customers, or you're going to sign up. If you need to sign up, put in your name, first name, last name, email address, create your password, confirm your password, and go ahead and put in your cell number and register. I've gone ahead and signed up for a Pro Plus subscription. So I have my email address and my password. Now I'm going to log in. When this pops up here, allowing iManifold to access your location, this will allow you to geotag and actually put your system on the spot on your job. So we're going to utilize allow. And right from here, we have all of our options. Connecting to iManifold, view the gauges, profile management, jobs, Tech Connect, data logging, quick test, settings, and about the app. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start up by powering up all of our probes and the 900C unit to get our probe pairing session started. Now that we have the app open, we're going to go ahead and connect to our iManifold 900C hub. On the top, you'll see a green button that says Connect to iManifold. When you're using an Apple device, it will automatically connect. Now, once we show connection, a brief tutorial will show up on your screen. Going through this, if you'd like to watch it, feel free to. I encourage you to get a little refresher on that. Once you're done watching that, simply tap the screen and it will go away. Now, you'll be seeing your probe screen here. You'll see your pressure side, and on the bottom here, you'll see probe mapping or continue. Right now, we're going to go to our probe mapping screen. So I can see on our probe mapping screen, we have no active probes. We're just showing the information from our iManifold 900C. You'll see that we have our atmospheric pressure, our calculated pressure, and our onboard temperature. You also note there is a battery life indicator. We're showing full battery. Now we're going to go ahead and start adding probes to the system. You'll see that you have profile and add probe. We're going to touch add probe to start it off. You'll see the probe mapping screen will show up here, and it's going to say that we're looking for probes. With the probe on, you'll make sure that the indicator is flashing as shown. There's a flash, flash, pause. Then what you're going to do is press down the wireless key. You're going to briefly tap that. You're not going to hold it down for any amount of time. Just briefly press it down once or twice, and it'll show you across the screen when the probe is paired. As you can see, wireless probes may take up to 30 seconds to join the network. Give it a second, be patient with it. If it does start to blink fast and nothing shows up across your screen, simply press and hold the wireless key down for 5 seconds and then repeat. You'll go off and press the wireless key briefly and the probe will show up as paired. Let's go ahead and start with our low side probe. So with the wireless low side probe in hand, everything's flashing the way it should be. We're simply going to tap the wireless key. As you can see, it flashed across, probe added successfully, and we have our low pressure probe. Now for our high side probe, we're going to just select add a probe, press and release our wireless key, and our high side is added. Now for our temperature humidity hygrometers, our 911Ms, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to repeat the same thing for both. Everything's flashing the way it should. Add probe, Press our wireless key. That probe is added. Add probe. Wireless key again. Probe added. So as you can see, now that all of our probes are present, we have our low pressure, our high pressure, and 2 humidity temperature probes. You'll also note in these boxes, you'll see circuit 1. When we go to a multiple circuit system, we can adjust our circuit number. We're going to go into that in another segment to go over this, because we do need to put in a profile that has multiple compressors prior to doing that. You'll see now there's a little light bulb, a trash can, the battery indicators and all this, and to open or close a probe here, the information. You'll also see a little wrench here. Red wrench is down here. What we're going to have to do next is verify the measurements that we're taking. Once everything's verified, this wrench will either be red or green. Right now we're green, we're all good. Once everything's down, we're going to review our probes. That way we'll only have to do this one time. You will not have to keep mapping your probes every time you use the system. This stores in memory. You just pick them up and go to work. So I'm going to show you something on our low side probe. On the screen, you'll have this light bulb and a trash can. This light bulb is actually to identify probes. We'll be using that in identifying both the humidity probes as to which one it is. If you have multiple probes and you need to identify them, put probe in hand, simply select the light bulb, and watch your indicator. As you can see, the indicator now is flashing rapidly. This identifies that this is probe number 1. It'll stop after just a few seconds. The trash can is if you want to remove a probe. If you want to take a probe out of the system, simply hit the trash can, it'll remove the probe from the system. So now we're going to map temperatures to our probes. We're going to start with our low side probe, the temperature inputs on the side, T1 and T2. We're going to be using our strap probe here in T1 for our suction line temperature. And we're going to be using our 4-inch ambient air temperature probe in T2 to get our ambient air temperature at the condenser. We're going to start by plugging in our thermistors. We're going to use our 901M strap type thermistor on our low side for our suction line temperature. We're going to plug that in to T1. So as you can see, when we plugged into T1 circuit 1, it shows our suction line temperature. Now we're going to go ahead and plug in our ambient air temperature thermistor into T2 on the low side probe. Now that both temperatures are plugged in, we're showing a T1 and a T2. T1 shows our SLT, suction line temperature. T2, circuit 1, outdoor air dry bulb. Now we're going to move to the high pressure probe and put in our liquid line and our discharge line temperatures. So now moving to our high side probe, we're going to use another one of our 901M thermistors into port number 1, and we're going to use this for our liquid line temperature. Now plugging in our thermistor to T1 on our high side probe, we got T1, circuit 1, liquid line temperature. Now we're going to go ahead and use our T2 in there for our discharge line temperature. Now our T2 in our high side. High pressure, T1, of course, liquid line temp. Now our T2 has been placed, circuit 1, discharge line temperature. So now we have 2 duplicate probes. We've got 2 911s here. Don't remember which one we did. First off, what we'd like to do is identify either one, which is either going to be supply or return. I like to identify my supply probe. So we're going to identify our supplier probe. These light bulbs that we talked about before, we're going to identify the probe. So I've got both my probes here flashing. As soon as I tap that light bulb, one of these is going to flash a lot more frequent than the other, and I'm going to identify that as my supplier probe. What I've done is I've marked a piece of tape, a little piece of clear tape with an S on it, and I've identified one of my probes as supply. So I'm simply tapping my light bulb here. This probe here obviously is my supplier probe. Here's my piece of tape. I'm just going to put that on the stock of the probe. so I can identify that's my supplier side. So now that all of our probes are mapped and present and ready to go, now we're going to just verify all of our values to make sure that we're getting all the measurements that we actually need. On the low pressure side, our suction line temp, as you see, we have a little red wrench here. We're going to tap that and just verify that that is actually what we're looking for. Yes, we're looking at suction line temp. That gets a green check mark. We're going to go down the list here on each one. Our outdoor dry bulb, and of course our suction pressure here. Moving to our high side probe, T1, our liquid line temp, just as we discussed. Discharge line temp, we're going to verify that. This is definitely our liquid line pressure side. We just identified these two probes, return air, verifying, and supplier, verified. Now, all of our probes are green, everything's check marked. Our wrench is green in the middle here, so we're ready to go. Now at the bottom of the page, we're going to tap review. This is going to permanently pair those probes up with all the values, so you don't have to do this again. So we'll tap review, and now we're ready to work. So for you out there using our system and you're going into a bigger piece of equipment that have 2, 3, and 4 compressors, I'm going to show you now how to add in another set of probes, pressure probes, to take values from a second, third, and fourth compressor. We're going to map these in. We're also going to show you that you need to add in a profile to accept the mapping for the extra compressors. Okay guys, so to add in the second circuit, third circuit, and fourth circuit, we have to make a profile that will actually accept that second circuit. So if you had a third or fourth, just repeat the process I'm about to show you. So from your probe mapping screen, we're going to change up a profile. Upper left-hand corner, we're going to select profile, and we're going to create a new profile with a second circuit involved. So create a new profile here. We're going to enter all the information that we need to create a profile in the first place. The system type, air conditioning system, metering device at the evap, standard TXV 410A. We got a decent sized commercial unit over there. We're going to say it's a 7.5 ton commercial unit. We'll go 10 to 12 SEER. No head pressure controls, number of compressors. We're going to select 2 compressors. Evaporator information, 1 evaporator. Standard operation. System superheat is calculated. Our system subcooling, we're going to leave that at 10. Just so you know guys, we put our superheat and subcooling at 12 and 10 just as default. That will pretty much make any setup happy. Now we're going to go ahead and name this profile. We can type in a name or we can auto-populate. I want to really be able to identify this, so I'm going to type in 2 circ 410A. I'll just leave it at that. Once everything's set up, you simply hit save. So now with our probes on here, we're ready to go, and we're going to pair our second circuit in. So as you can see on our low pressure, we already have low pressure and high pressure both on circuit 1. Now we're going to go ahead and add probes. We're going to take our low side, add the probe, tap our wireless key, and add it in. Now at the same time right now, I'm going to look down here at my low pressure, just so I can identify this now. Where it says low pressure in circuit 1, I'm going to tap where it says circuit 1, and I'm going to put this as circuit 2. So now we have our low pressure, circuit number 2. We can add our pressures, our temperatures in here on the side. Same thing. So adding in our second high side probe, same thing applies. It's on, we're in pairing mode here. We're going to add a probe, tap our wireless key. Now that we have our second high pressure added, showing circuit 1, I just want to show you something about this. When we have a probe that's off, showing circuit number 1 being a second probe, up on the top, our wrench is red, showing that there is an issue. So you can take a look at that and actually tap that and give you an explanation of what it sees. Liquid line, pressure 1, there's multiple mappings shown for that. So going right back down to our high pressure, very simple to fix. That is our circuit number 2. We're going to tap circuit 1, select circuit 2, and we're all set. Going down the line over here, everything's set. Our wrench is green. Let's verify those probes to make sure we don't have to do this again. That's our low pressure side. Suction pressure. Same thing with the high side, high pressure. Now, of course, adding in your secondary liquid line and suction line temperatures, that's going to apply the same thing on the beginning. Once everything's set, simply tap review, and we're ready to work. So now that we have our extra circuits of probes paired up and mapped, you really need to identify these. Your initial set, your circuit number 2, circuit number 3, circuit number 4. Identify those by either using labels. You can use colored zip ties. That way, when you deploy the system, you'll grab your first set for your primary circuit. If you're doing a 2-circuit system, you'll have your primary circuit plus your secondary circuit and so on. That'll help you utilize the system to its best.